Can Aaron Rodgers follow in the footsteps of Matthew Stafford and Tom Brady winning a championship with their new organizations? That path starts with Monday Night Football. The Jets are 2.5 point dogs at home versus the Buffalo Bills. This is Showdown coverage brought to you by SharpFootballAnalysis.com. I'm your host, Adam Wilde, and let's hop over to DraftKings. Couple things to note on this slate is just Buffalo Bills are really, really thin at wide receiver. Our lads only has them listed with 5 wide receivers, and Khalil Shakir is actually not even listed as the starter. He is fourth on the depth chart. He lost the battle to Harty. So that's going to provide an interesting dynamic, but it's really not great for us because with Buffalo being the favorites and really the spread should probably be a little higher. We have a lot of hype on the Jets side of the ball. They are extremely talented and they do have Aaron Rodgers, but they are also piecing together a lot of new players into their offense. So it's going to be difficult to project how they're going to come out and play in their first game with all of those new pieces. But either way, the Buffalo Bills are obviously an incredible offense that the Jets are going to have to keep up with. The 45.5 point over under is a little low too, but the Jets are a very, very good defense, probably a top 5 defense this year. So I could see it going under 50, but I would have liked to see that over under push a little closer to 50. So Josh Allen at the top, of course, the most expensive player on the slate, but also the second most expensive player on the slate in Stephon Diggs at 10,600. Interesting dynamic. That's similar to week one, how we saw with Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. DraftKings kind of tried to do the same thing, not price you out of a popular stack, but make it more viable to not play the most obvious stack on the slate. And it's just probably not going to work. I mean, you're probably going to start most of your lineups with Josh Allen at captain and Stephon Diggs. I did it on Thursday with Patrick Mahomes, where I played 100% of Patrick Mahomes as captain. That did still pan out, although it was very, very odd. I saw someone take down the $50 single entry with Patrick Mahomes at captain, only paired with Blake Bell. So, like, don't kick yourself if you got annihilated on Thursday. That was a very strange game. So we'll probably go right back to that well with like 100% Josh Allen. There's probably a good 50% chance he's the optimal captain. So if you want to be overexposed to somebody who's going to be like 35 to 45% at captain, then you might as well just go all in 20 max or something like that. Of course, not in 150 max or anything like that. But if you're just playing a 20 max, no issue with locking Josh Allen in at captain and then trying to get unique. But like we talked about at the top, it's going to be difficult to get unique with Josh Allen at captain when there's so few receivers to stack him with. So that's something we'll discuss here in a moment. Stephon Diggs, of course, a great play. He's good for 10 targets every single game, pretty much. And Sauce Gardner, a little bit scary, right? Because he's probably the third best, second best corner in the league, depending on how you feel about Patrick Surtain. It's going to be a difficult matchup for Diggs, but also he's getting 10 targets no matter what, especially how he ended last season, right? With the I don't even know if there was necessarily complaining, just maybe discontent for how the season had gone, how the past 2 seasons had gone for Stephon Diggs. So I expect them to look for Stephon Diggs early and often. So no brainer at the top. Stack Stephon Diggs with Josh Allen. Garrett Wilson's where it gets interesting. 10,400. He's been a projection all off season. He's a great indication of how sharp just fantasy football in general has gotten. Like, so he won Offensive Rookie of the Year. It was close with Olave. Brees Hall probably would have won Offensive Rookie of the Year had he not gotten injured. But nonetheless, Garrett Wilson had an incredible rookie season. But usually, probably 10 years ago, you needed to see 2 years of that sort of production from a wide receiver before he was going in like the late first, early second round of drafts. And Garrett Wilson already found his way there. It's pretty easy to tell, especially based off of the offseason, that Garrett Wilson's going to be incredible. So DraftKings treated them as such. We're going to have to treat him as such. I would kind of treat Garrett Wilson how you would like maybe CD Lamb or something like that if you're playing the Sunday Night Showdown slate. So Garrett Wilson at 10-4, plenty viable. But once you get into a lineup with Josh Allen at captain, Stephon Diggs, and Garrett Wilson, it's getting weird. The only good thing about that is that Khalil Shakir's only like 2,800, Hardy's only 200. So you have a lot of options to pay up. But now when you talk about Rodgers pairing Garrett Wilson and Rodgers, someone has to go, right? You're already out of money. So uh, once you get to the point of Josh Allen at captain, Garrett Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, now you're stacking Josh Allen with his more ancillary pieces, which is something that I would go to. So we will discuss Josh Allen at captain with Garrett Wilson and Aaron Rodgers at the end of the show. Brees Hall and Dalvin Cook. So the Cook brothers, this is the cook off. The Cook brothers are priced similarly, but more interesting is Brees Hall is priced at 8,200 with Dalvin Cook at 7,800. I feel like by the end of the year, it will be very obvious that Brees Hall is the starter. They love him there. He probably would have been the offensive rookie of the year. I don't see why Brees Hall would start the year as the primary ball carrier. It wouldn't make much sense to bring him in off of the ACL injury and just immediately put him in a 15 touch role with Dalvin Cook there, especially since Dalvin Cook is healthy. He didn't participate in the offseason, hardly any at all. He didn't play in any preseason games. So Dalvin Cook is fresh. Brees Hall is coming off of an ACL injury. I don't know if that means that I advise being overweight on Dalvin Cook or Brees Hall. Both of them are probably too expensive for their role, and they're also home underdogs. So it's not like they have that added bump of being home favorites to try to give them the nod. They're literally both fine at their price. It's really James Cook who's 8,000, which is way more than he's been at any point last year. But he's also the definite starter now. James Cook is who I really like to play in this game because you need to find ways to pair Allen with pieces of this offense without spending too much money. Because once you get Allen and Diggs, you're kicking yourself out of the Wilson Rodgers market. And if you've seen anything from camp, I mean, obviously Hard Knocks. We can go on a Hard Knocks rant about how if you looked at every single team the way you look at Hard Knocks, you would see similar connections with Jimmy Garoppolo and Devontae Adams or Derek Carr and Chris Olave, like whatever. It's clear that Aaron Rodgers is going to treat Garrett Wilson like his former number 17 now that Garrett Wilson's his current number 17. So I'm buying into that and I want both of them. I guess I can just tell myself that Sauce Gardner is going to be stuck to Stephon Diggs if it gives me the warm and fuzzies about not playing him, but it's really just too expensive. So James Cook is who I'll look to stack with Allen. A little bit of a unique stack, stacking him with his running back, and James Cook should factor into the receiving game. Gabe Davis at 7,200, also a little bit too expensive, but with so few rotational pieces in that wide receiver room, Gabe Davis is plenty viable at 7,200. He only needs a few plays to make good on his 7,200, just given his role in the offense, what we've seen him do in the past, the 80-yard touchdowns, things like that. Gabe Davis can make good at 7,200, and frankly, he's not going to make us feel super comfortable, but we kind of need Gabe Davis in this game. Alan Lazard at 6,400 is a little bit higher than I would have expected, but his rapport with Aaron Rodgers is obviously what DraftKings is pricing him for. So we didn't get to see a ton of connection from them, but we've seen connection with them in the past. We know Aaron Rodgers has his trust, so we do want to go with those Buffalo Bills heavy lineups. But if you can't fit Garrett Wilson because you went Stephon Diggs, then Alan Lazard is a nice consolation prize to pair with Aaron Rodgers. Let's skip over these quarterbacks. We have Damien Harris at 5,400. I'm okay with Damien Harris at 5,400. So he's basically playing the role of Devin Singletary last year, but you're going to have to flip the usage a little bit because there's no way that they're going to hand Damien Harris the ball more than James Cook in my mind. So I'm thinking he's going to play more of Devin Singletary's role, but they're just going to rush a little bit less than they did last year, and that's total projection. It's just that James Cook is a little bit better of a receiver, and he has to be the primary ball carrier in that backfield. So expect Damian Harris to get something like maybe like Eli Mitchell's workload, something like that. So 5 to 10 carries, maybe catch or two, and make good on that 5,000, which Eli Mitchell will be all year, probably right around 5,000. Dalton Kincaid's going to be tough for anybody to project because he's a rookie tight end, but they've talked all offseason. Brandon Beane specifically has said that he doesn't even seem to care about Dalton Kincaid's blocking. I don't even know if he's gonna ask him to block. They've said it's improved over the offseason, but, it does not appear to be an emphasis, so that means that Dalton Kincaid will be utilized early. We saw Sam Laporta get a little bit of run. He was drafted similarly. So Dalton Kincaid at 5,000. It's going to be tough because Dawson Knox is obviously still there. Dawson Knox, quote unquote, the starter. We know that Dalton Kincaid right now is a better receiver than Dalton Knox has been, even though Dalton Knox has flashed in the past. But Dalton Knox at 4,400 is probably who I'd rather go to in week one because he's going to have a lower roster percentage and he's a little bit cheaper. So we're looking for those ways to get unique with Josh Allen. So Dalton Knox paired with Josh Allen. I wouldn't hate in large field pairing Josh Allen with Kincaid and Knox because they're both cheap and there's so few wide receivers to play for the Buffalo Bills in this game that I could see both of them being utilized. So Dawson Knox is pretty much the same player as he was last year, or the same play as he was last year. He's fine at 4,400. And then if we do buy the narrative that Kincaid is going to be more of a receiver, then of course they would be viable together. And then we've got Tyler Conklin. He's going to share with CJ Uzama. So it's going to be a difficult dynamic there. But CJ Uzama at 800 is a little nicer than Tyler Conklin at the 44,000 range. So I don't mind sprinkling in some CJ Uzama and like large field stuff, but Tyler Conklin's going to be the one that we go to. Randall Cobb at 3,400. He's going to be an ancillary piece. Somebody who's coming in on third downs, things like that. Easy to make good on 3,400. But when we're trying to stack the Bills and we're trying to still fit Aaron Rodgers in a lineup that we stack the Bills, then we want to hit Aaron Rodgers with somebody who he's either going to connect on a touchdown with, which Randall Cobb, I don't know what his anytime touchdown is, but it's going to be pretty high, or either connect on a touchdown or someone who he might get hot with, like Alan Lazard. We could see Aaron Rodgers getting hot with Alan Lazard. So I don't know that Randall Cobb is going to fit these builds, but at 3,400 as a standalone piece, if you're just looking at him, that's fair. And so is Mecole Hardman. Mecole Hardman's fine at 3,000 just because he is going to be like a gadget sort of player. Somebody that they'll hand the end arounds to, the jet sweep kind of guy. That's the role that he's going to play in this offense. So he could be even used in like a 5-by-1 without Aaron Rodgers or something like that as a unique, cheap run back in a real Buffalo onslaught. I mentioned Khalil Shakir at the top. So Shakir lost out to Harty, who is 200. And Hardy's going to have to be the most rostered player on the slate just because he wasn't expected to be. Obviously, DraftKings didn't expect Hardy to be the starter. And Khalil Shakir at 2,400, still coming off the bench, but he was viable at 2,400 last year and as a thin wide receiver group. So if the whole theme of the show is that we're having a difficult time uniquely stacking the Bills, then you're going to have to do something that you're not comfortable with, which is going to have to be playing a little bit of Khalil Shakir in this one and just hoping that he gets that 25 to 30% snap share would be phenomenal for someone at 2,400. Michael Carter at 2,000 and Abanikanda at 1,200. It's going to be difficult for either of them to factor in. The only thing I can say about that is I'm a little afraid in very large field to not have exposure to Carter just because I could see a situation where we're duped and Brees Hall is not a he's not necessarily a decoy, but just I could see an 8 carry game out of Brees Hall or something like that, in which we got more usage out of one of these guys. But their roster percentage is going to be so low, it wouldn't kill you anyways. And the other confusing thing about that is that we're not even sure if Abanikanda or Carter would be the third man up. I could see so Carter should be penciled in for that, but I could see Abanikanda getting some run as well. So I guess we talked about Hardy 200. He's going to be one of he's going to make all of your Buffalo stacks work, especially if you want to fit. So let's just go ahead and start building, and we'll look at why Hardy's going to be so popular. So Josh Allen, I already mentioned at the top's probably going to be my most rostered captain. I might, if I'm playing 20 max, so I'll be playing 150 max, but if I'm playing 20 max, I'm probably only doing Josh Allen lineups. So let's just start with this and see how things work out. Josh Allen at captain, Stephon Diggs, Garrett Wilson, Aaron Rodgers. This is going to force you to do 2 punts. Even when you throw Hardy in, you're not going to feel good about it. You have 1,900. You can't even fit Shakir in there. I don't really want to run a 3x3, so I'm not going to go with like a Bonaconda wouldn't be great. CJ Uzama wouldn't be great because now we're running a 3x3. Like, it would work and it would be low ownership, but I really want to get to 4-2 or even 5-1 if I'm not comfortable. So now what you can do is take Diggs out of the equation and let's put in James Cook for a little bit unique, a little bit more unique of a stack. And now you can do something like Khalil Shakir and leave a lot of money on the table. So Josh Allen, James Cook, Garrett Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Hardy, and Khalil Shakir. This is something in large field. This is something you could put in large field. It's scary putting the 2001, leaving the 2,100 on the table, but when you have a player like Hardy, this goes for any slate. If they were mispriced for whatever reason, like Hardy was not, he might have been the 5th wide receiver at the time that DraftKings put out these salaries. Now we have new information that would have made him probably a $2,000 to $3,000 player, maybe higher. Probably like Randall Cobb's salary is what Hardy would have been at had DraftKings known. So you don't have to feel uncomfortable. Just tell yourself while you're building that Hardy costs 3,000 or something like that. And I'm not saying don't use the salary in any lineup and make that a hard cap, but when you do find these lineups that look good for large field stuff, don't don't feel the need to click around and try to find a replacement for that $2,100. You totally fine leaving that on the table. We can get rid of Cooks in this lineup and we can throw in Gabe Davis. Perfectly fine with that, leaving the 2,900 on the table. Something else you could do here if you did want to go a 3x3 is like take Shakir out and maybe you could throw in your like Mecole Hardman. Like I said, probably not Randall Cobb here. And then another thing that fits is Kincaid or Knox. So you could do something like Josh Allen, Gabe Davis, Garrett Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Hardy, Kincaid. You can go Josh Allen, Gabe Davis, Garrett Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Hardy, and Knox, and leave 900 on the table. So the 4x2 is not difficult to get to create unique stacks for Josh Allen. It's just difficult to get to with Stephon Diggs if you want to play the Garrett Wilson and Aaron Rodgers stack, which I do want to do a lot. Now, there is one more thing that I want to talk about, which is you tell yourself a story, and we've done this many times with Davante Adams. In fact, Davante Adams is one of the only wide receivers that I've ever been comfortable with playing at captain without their quarterback in games that they were projected to lose because he is such a focal point of the offense. And if Garrett Wilson is going to be anywhere near Davante Adams, there is a situation in which Garrett Wilson could be played on his own. We saw this was viable before Thursday night too with the Chiefs. You could do this with Amon-Ra St. Brown as well. He's that type of guy. So you could go like a 5x1 and just go crazy with Josh Allen, Garrett Wilson. Diggs can factor into this equation. And then you have 7,300. So you could go Gabe Davis. That only leaves 100 on the table, but that's okay. You could go down to that double tight end build that I talked about, and then you can go up from probably not. Oh yeah, you could get rid of Hardy and go Shakir, just like on Thursday night when everybody thought that Noah Gray was the slam dunk play, and then we got a bunch of Blake Bell. It would not be a surprise to see Khalil Shakir get a good bit of run in this one. So you could go Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, Garrett Wilson, Dalton Kincaid, Khalil Shakir, Dawson Knox. This is large field stuff. The small field stuff is a little more, a little less nuanced, a little more straightforward. You just kind of stack Josh Allen with 4 of his receiving options. Sprinkle in Damien Harris when you get into that large field stuff, just in case he has a larger role. But I do think that it's going to be James Cook for the most part. So that's going to do it for today. I appreciate everybody for coming out to this the second show, and we will be back on Thursday with Showdown Analysis brought to you by sharpfootballanalysis.com. Thanks. Peace.